Hello and welcome back to the Coder's Legacy channel. In this video, we're going to discuss how to create menus in Pygame in a very easy and efficient way. Anyone who's the least bit familiar with Pygame knows just how hard it is to create GUI. Even a simple button can require a lot of code. You need to create the background for it, then you need to create the boundary for it, and the text, you need to center the text. You need to do all of that yourself, and that can get really annoying. And that's just a simple button. Imagine just how many other GUI elements there are that need to be created in a basic menu. So, how do we get around this problem? Well, there's a very good library called pygame-menu over here that we're going to be using in this video. I'm not really going to be writing any code because I don't want to drag this video out very long. We're going to just discuss this code over here that I've written beforehand, okay? And I'm gonna run this over here just so we can see it first. All right, this is basically the menu. You can see it's pretty simplistic, but it works. Okay, we can use the arrow keys to navigate, or we can also use the mouse, okay, to select these buttons. Basically, you can type in your username over here. This is an entry field over here. Okay, anything really. Then you can click on levels, and then there's a selector over here, and that's the print function it's connected to. So there's a level, and then there's this nice little back button that you can select. And as you can see, there are also different themes. Like this is a blue theme, and this is a different one. So pygame-menu actually provides you with built-in themes like this that you can use. So I think that's pretty cool. Then there's quit, obviously, that's going to quit it. And we can click on play. Then there's a nice little progress bar that we can get done. Okay. Uh, then yeah. So as you can see, this is a pretty useful thing, and all of this was done in just 60 lines of code, and that's including the boilerplate pygame code. So as you can see, it's really very little effort, and yeah, much easier and much shorter. So let's discuss this code a bit. All right. So obviously, the first thing you'll want to do is actually install this library, install pygame-menu. All right. And I already have it. Okay, so it's just gonna say I already have it, requirement already satisfied. And then we have here our imports. Okay, then we create the pygame screen. Okay, then these are some functions which we'll come back to a bit later. Okay, and here are the menus. Okay, now obviously there are several menus, right? We say that okay, this is a menu system, but there are many sub menus within that menu. There's like the main menu, and then there are like level menu, help menu, etc. Right? So this is basically all of that. Okay, this is the main menu, and it has a text input, which is basically an entry field, and this is the buttons. Then this is the functions that they're connected to. Okay, and this one triggers the pygame exit event, which automatically exits everything. You can see the code for it down here, actually. Okay, and this is where we're event handling it in the game loop. So here's the level menu. We just put in a selector over here. These are the four main widgets that you're gonna want to use: the text input, the button, the selector, and the progress bar. Okay, and these are the themes. Okay, there are different themes that you can use over here. Theme blue, and then there's green, for example. And we can go on levels now. So it's green, pretty cool. There's the title over here as well, and each menu can have a different width and height, which is also pretty useful. And this is the selector, and these are the options, okay, in a list. Then obviously each option has a integer value to basically uniquely identify it. And here's a loading screen, a progress bar. It has a width, and it has ID. Can't remember what that was for, but yeah. So here's another cool thing, as you may have noticed over here, that we have this nice little arrow over here, right? And the arrow follows along and is on the currently selected option. So this is basically that arrow that we have created over here, and we draw it to the screen down here. Okay, we'll come to that in a minute. This is basically the event, the update loading event for the progress bar. All right. Again, this is simple code. We created a user event. We call these pygame user events, and then over here in the start the game, okay, the start the game function, which is connected to our loading bar right here. Hold on. Oh yeah, play. Sorry, it's connected to the play button. Yeah. So then it calls this function, and then here it opens our menu. I totally forgot to mention that actually. We can create several menus, right? But we switch between menus using this function, using this open function. Okay. So what happens when you call this open function? It basically opens up the level menu. Okay. And you need to pass in, for example, if you want to open up the loading menu, you gotta pass in loading over here. You want to open up the level menu, you gotta pass in the level object in there. Okay. And it's kind of understood, by the way, that this is the main menu. So it's gonna open up the other menus. Now let's assume that the level menu here, let's assume that it had another menu inside of it, uh, for whatever reason. So then we would do this. All right. Every menu has uh, every menu basically has a open feature that can open another menu within it. And this is basically pygame-menus, the pygame-menus libraries way of handling it. Like it kind of builds a hierarchy. So let me just show you this. Like we didn't actually specify, right, which menu this button should take us back to, but because we used the open function from the main menu, it knows to take us back to the main menu. All right, so that's just the intuition behind it. Okay, and this is the timer function. I'm sure you're familiar with that. If you're not, I'll leave a bunch of videos down there for those of you who don't know, because making a game requires a whole bunch of concepts like user events, and then there's the timer, and we'll talk all about that in other videos in detail. But yeah, this is video is just you know, I just wanted to show you guys this library. Thought it was really cool. Anyone who's making a game in Pygame will want to use this. I think definitely useful. There's just one last thing we'll discuss over here that's really left. Basically, over here is saying that if the menu is enabled, which it is at the very start, and until our game loads, then we're gonna be updating the menu with the events, okay, the currently occurring events, and the we're gonna be drawing it to the surface. Okay, the surface is our pygame window over here, and then this is an extra thing that I added. Again, I told you about the cursor, right? So let me just show you one more time. This cursor over here, this black arrow. And by the way, there are many different widgets over here, just like a right arrow as well. Let's just see what happens. And you can change the width and the height for it, by the way, over there. So yeah, that puts it over there. And interestingly, it all works automatically because pygame-menu again is pretty good that way. All you need to do is tell it the widget that you want to draw it to, and it does that. Again, really cool if you ask me. So actually one more thing. You see this over here? I just want to explain this code, and let's take a look at one more thing basically. This is the thing, the timer basically for this event that occurs every 30 milliseconds. What we're doing here is increasing the value of the progress bar by 1 every time the event occurs. Now, you don't need to do it this way. If you want to, you can estimate the amount of time your game takes to load and then set the timer accordingly. But you can also do it differently. Like if you have 500 files in your game, every time one file loads, you can increase the progress bar by 1 upon 500 multiplied by 100, I think. Yeah, something like that. So basically, and once it becomes 100, then you disable it by setting the timer to 0, which basically disables it. All right, so that's just something. And I want to disable the menu here because it makes sense, right? Like we have loaded the game, so we should disable the menu and then begin the actual game. So let's see what happens. Yeah, it stops at 99, I guess, because and we need to actually clear our screen because I've disabled it so it's no longer being drawn. So we need to actually clear our screen first. So, for example, because if you know how Pygame's thing works, like even if you stop drawing things every iteration of the game loop, the last drawn thing is still gonna be there. So we need to kind of overwrite it, basically, like this, by, whitewashing the entire surface. So once we do this, once we disable it, we're gonna paint the whole thing over with white, or you can paint the background of your game's starting field or entry, whatever. So this is no longer gonna run, okay, because the menu is disabled. So let's see what happens. Once this reaches 100, the screen should turn white. Yep, there we go. All right, so that's just what I wanted to cover. I think we basically covered the entire basics. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to see more content like this in the future, if you want me to make more content on this library, if there's something that you want to see, do let me know. If there's something else related to Pygame that you want to see, again, do let me know. All right. See you guys in the next video.